Hello everyone. Today we are going to be working on a shark dissection. We are going to specifically look at the digestive system of the shark and compare it to our own. But we're also going to look at some of the other body systems of the shark and also some of the general features of the shark anatomy while we're at it. So the shark I have here is a dogfish shark. There are many different species of dogfish sharks. I'm not sure exactly what species this is, but there are dogfish sharks that live in and around the Tampa Bay area. We're going to start out with the external features of the shark, the things on the outside of his body. We'll start off by looking at the fins. On the dorsal side, or the back side of the shark, is the dorsal fin. There's actually two dorsal fins here. The dorsal fins help to keep the shark upright in the water as it moves. If the dorsal fins were gone, the shark would more or less spin around in a spiral motion like a football as it swam. The tail fin of the shark is called the caudal fin. It serves as the shark's motor, moving back and forth to allow forward motion. The side fins are called the pectoral fins. Recall that you had pectoral muscles in your chest, your pecs that you could work out. Similarly, these are the chest fins of the shark. Think of them sort of like the shark arms. And on the bottom of this shark, we see two paired fins called the anal fins. The anal fins are called that because they're right next to the shark butt. The shark butt is called the cloaca. They have one opening to their body. The cloaca, by looking at the fins around the cloaca, we can tell if the shark is a boy or a girl. This shark is a female. If the anal fins were much longer and they had these sort of rounded structures called claspers, then we would know that it was a male. All right, on the head of the shark, we can see a few different very cool structures. First of all, right where on the bottom side of his snout are little holes called nares. Even though the fish breathes through its gills, the nares serve as the nose, not for breathing, but instead for picking up chemical signals. That's how the shark can smell blood within the water. If you look very closely, you should be able to see some very teeny tiny holes all over the snout area. Those are called ampullae of Lorenzini. The ampullae are used, they're an electric sensing organ. They can actually sense electrical currents that the shark's prey gives off so that he can hunt more efficiently and find things that are living underneath the sand. Also, on the shark's front side is his mouth, obviously the start of the digestive tract. If we open it up, should be able to see all of his sharp teeth. And we'll take a closer look at the shark's mouth once we open up the internal anatomy of the shark. Rows and rows of teeth. The shark's teeth are shed throughout its lifetime, and it continues to produce more as it grows. Just behind the eye of the shark is an opening called the spiracle. There's a spiracle on each side of the shark's head, and the spiracles are extra openings into the respiratory system. They allow water to move over the gills very easily if, for example, the shark was laying down and the gills were clogged up with sand, or if he was even buried a little bit underneath the sand, the spiracles would still allow water to get into the gills, allowing him to continue with respiration. If you could feel this shark, you can kind of listen to how it sounds when I rub it. It's very, very rough, like sandpaper. For a while, people actually used shark skin as a primitive form of sandpaper. It feels like that, a little bit different than a lot of other fish because its scales are shaped almost in like a little trident shape. They're very sharp and they point backwards. That allows the shark to be more aerodynamic or hydrodynamic, moving through the water a little bit more efficiently with less drag. Here you can see the trident shape of individual shark scales layered on top of each other. They are called placoid scales. But the last thing we're going to look at on the outside of the shark are his eyes. or her, I guess, her eyes. I'm going to go ahead and try to remove one of the eyes, or at least cut it open. We're going to look for a structure inside the eyeball called the lens. Recall from when we did our squid dissection way back at the beginning of the year that the lens is used to take all the light entering the eye and focus it into a clear picture. Your lens is shaped like a contact lens. It's like a shallow bowl. The shark's lens is shaped like a sphere. Light acts differently underwater than it does in the air, so the spherical lens, or marble-shaped lens of the shark, allows it to see more clearly underwater. Just like if you look underwater, your image is blurry. If a shark looked above water with this lens, his image would most likely be blurry, but underwater he has a clear image. Now in life, this lens would be clear. It's a little cloudy since the shark died, and probably because of some of the preservative agents. All right, next up we're going to open up our shark and look at some of her internal structures. So I'm going to start with the cloaca, and I'm going to cut from the cloaca all the way up through the mouth. Okay, so I've got the shark opened up. Now something cool about this shark is it was injected with two different colors of latex. The first, the reddish-pink latex, was injected into the main blood vessels of the shark to show the circulatory system, and then the yellow latex was injected into the hepatic system, which are the blood vessels that move blood to the liver for filtration. And before we get into the digestive system, I want to quickly look at one of the respiratory system structures. If we look inside the shark's mouth that I've kind of sliced open, you can see the back sides of the gills. You can see the front of the gills and the inside. Now I've gone ahead and sliced out a small section of gill. I kind of butchered it a little bit. It was pretty tough, but we can see is on one side there are lots of long feathery structures. You can see all of the blood vessels running through them. These are called the gill filaments. This is what allows the oxygen to be pulled from the water. There's lots of surface area. They should be a lot more crown-like. I just sort of sliced it a little bit. On the underside of the gill, you see what are called gill rakers. The rakers are sort of like prison bars. When the shark breathes, because its gill cavity and its oral cavity are connected, it may accidentally breathe out some of its food that it wants to eat. The gill rakers are designed to catch some of that food and hold it inside of the shark's mouth. All right, now looking at the circulatory system of the shark very briefly. Right up front we have the shark's heart. Go ahead and remove the heart for you. You can see all of the vasculature, all of the blood vessels that have been injected with latex. All right, now on to the shark's digestive system. The most striking thing about the internal anatomy of the shark is this very large, multi-lobed organ. These are not fins. This is an organ inside of the shark. I'm going to do my best to remove this organ. This is the shark's liver. Now, why would the liver of the shark have to be so large? Most fish have an organ called a swim bladder. It's roughly shaped like a balloon, and what it does, it allows the fish to move up and down within the water column. By looking at our fish model, we can see the swim bladder organ that sharks lack. Most other fish do have swim bladders. When he wants to go up in the water, the fish will fill the swim bladder up with gas. When he wants to go down, he'll squeeze gas out of the swim bladder. The shark does not have a swim bladder. Additionally, it's a fairly heavy organism. It would sink fairly easily. So it has modified its liver to become a swim bladder of sorts. Its liver is a storage place for a very fatty oil solution that it creates. This oil has been used in traditional and alternative medicine practices for a very long time for its touted health benefits to humans. Here are some shark liver oil pills you can buy on eBay for $36. It also helps the shark to remain buoyant in the water. So you can see, the liver makes up most of the shark's internal organs. It's very, very important to the shark. Let's go ahead and do a quick size comparison here. Here's our human. Notice the human's liver. The proportional size between the liver and the human, relatively small. Here's our shark and the shark's liver. Proportionally, a much, much greater portion of the shark's organs. Right, now behind the liver on either side are two of the reproductive structures. And if we break them open, we actually can see what I believe are some eggs beginning to form. Very cool. The dogfish shark will give live birth to between 1 and 20 pups.
Baby shark do 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 do, baby shark do 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 do, baby shark do 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 do, baby shark.
Okay, now for the digestive system. I'm going to go ahead and try and remove most of the digestive system so we can look at it piece by piece. But we see the mouth. And then right here, I'm sticking my finger into the opening, the pharynx, into the esophagus, into the stomach, and then the intestines are balled up down at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and remove them, and then we'll look at the pieces one by one. Okay, so now we're looking at the main internal organ mass of the shark. The stomach is J-shaped. It comes down and back up right here. Attached to the stomach right here, with all the red and yellow spots due to the latex, is the spleen. Recall that the spleen was used in the circulatory system to recycle old red blood cells. Go ahead and remove the spleen, just to cut down on how much stuff is around here. All right, so now we're looking at stomach, pancreas. Recall that the pancreas secretes bicarbonate and also some digestive enzymes into the upper small intestine. Here's the small intestine, the colon, the large intestine. And this is a gland unique to the shark called the rectal gland. The rectal gland is used to secrete extra salt. And it is part of a very complex metabolic system that sharks have that's unique to sharks. We're not going to really get into that, but it's still pretty cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and open up the stomach, see if we see any food in the stomach, and then we're also going to look at the rugae of the stomach, remember the folds within it. Look at how folded that stomach is, all the rugae. Oh, and it looks like we've got some food. It appears to be some squid tentacles or octopus tentacles. Very cool. Pull out some more of them. Gross. All right, we're going to go ahead and open up the small intestine next. Our stomach's good. Remember, the material in the small intestine was called chyme. Definitely lots of chyme going on in here. All right, you see the intense folding in the small intestine, some of the villi, and then lots and lots of chyme. I'm glad that this is preserved because all I can smell is the preservative and not the disgustingness that this would smell like usually. And then you see some feces ready to be expelled. So let's compare the size of our stomach in sharks with our intestine compared to a human, that's very, very different. Let's think about why those things are, why this digestive system is looking a little bit different than the human's digestive system, or a herbivore's digestive system, like the rabbit digestive system we took a look at. All right, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.